let's get started this one. So I'm very excited about this. This is so today, just give you all like a quick agenda. Like we're gonna talk about CX metrics. There is like some key metrics that we all are aware of, like NPS, CES, and CSAT. So if you have already have embarked your journey in CX, or like have started about it, so you will start learning about CX, and these metrics will definitely be there. So in 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 English, if you learn English, you would like start A for Apple. In CX, you start with like NPS. This is how you start your like a CX journey. Right? Apologies, I have little cough here. And so today, what we're going to talk about is why these metrics are important, and then look at that, what the research tells about it, and what exactly really these NPS, CES, and CSAT are helpful for. And Tanuj would also share real life examples that where these are being deployed, how they are helping to the organizations. And definitely, yes, we will have a Q&A in between to address your concerns and questions if you have doubts. This is like a session just to let you know that and try to clear off your any of your doubts. So feel free to be a part of this entire conversation. So as a next, first of all, before we start, I just want to understand that whenever you start your CX program, there is a reason why you want to start your CX program, right? What is your reason? Why and what do you want to drive? So this is the key question that you have to answer before anything gets into the next step. Let's say that I want to understand the loyalty of my customers. What is my performance right now? How is this going to be a churn happening, or like there's a new opportunity to bring in new business? What is the benchmark? Where do I stand with my customers? Improve productivity or proactive approach to reduce churn, acquire new customer, and many more. So there could be 100 or 1000 elements that you would want to try with your CX program, right? But it will not help you to do all of them all together at the same time. So you cannot move the mountain like just in one time. So you'll have to do it one by one. So how we do it? So we need to understand what is your priority goal to achieve. What is your most important thing that you want to get started with? And that is where you start your first metric to identify. All right. And let's take an example. So this example will help you to understand how you can find out which one would be your key metric. So let's say here that company goal is to measure the customer loyalty, and the customer loyalty will be measured by how? So it is going to be likelihood to continue doing business or willingness to recommend the company. So this is like company goal. But how do you use it? Like how you will increase that customer loyalty? If you want to increase the customer loyalty, there will be some actions required, right? So service organization goal will do that. Okay, let's measure that customer effort score as well. Because if you just measure the NPS at the top line, you are not going to increase the loyalty. So you need to understand actions. So for that, you measure it like customer effort score, number of interaction happening in your servicing to the customer. And then you can drive the organization goal one by one. So look at these examples. So if you want to drive end-to-end customer journey across channels, then number of touch points used, order of touch points from the first context. These are very, very small elements, but play very critical areas. And if you look at your experience measured on these channels, could be accuracy of information. Are you getting legitimate data, clarity of information, skills and behavior, and ease of use? So what I'm trying to say here, in this particular small chart, you can understand what is the main goal you are trying to do. So you'll have to define this before you move and find out that, hey, how do I do it? So first step,
what metrics that I use?
What metrics? Yes, definitely. What metrics you want to do it? This is the basic first step.
Yeah. So this also tells you how NPS, CES, and everything is tied to the company goals altogether. Like if the company goal was overall loyalty, but we just talk about service organization goal, and it can be product organization, marketing, and everyone will get involved, but we are talking just about the service here. So how we measure NPS at the top, customer effort at the bottom, and then inside that service organization goal, we see the journey touch points which every customer travels throughout the service journey before they interact with you. It can be email support, it can be chat support, it can be help articles, or also when we are talking about service channels, how reps are providing information, how accurate it is, and how ease of use or ease of getting your issues resolved is there. So that is how a company goal and organization goal are aligned together, and that's how where NPS, CES, and CSAT gets involved.
Absolutely. Let's see. So what if you look at HBR says that 94% of customer reporting low efforts said that they would repurchase. So if you have a product or if you have a service, it's the least effort from customer to utilize your service. You are highly likely, like up to 94%, that they will repurchase from you. And 88% said that they will increase their spending. So I think the great example is like Spotify and Netflix. I haven't seen like the least, like more than the least effort of using these applications. So it's just as friendly as it could be. So this is really, really embarkable. So if you really want to make sure that your customer do a repurchase, or if you want to increase the spend of your customer, let's focus on the effort score. Understand that, hey, how much effort is it from the customer? And if you are able to reduce that, you will get these numbers for you.
Absolutely. And it was not like previously we just relied on CSATs and NPS to get this data, but actually if you look at now how times have changed, people are looking for convenience. I was reading something the other day, NK, where people used to wait for like 2 days, like 10 years ago, to get their issue resolved, and now if a person doesn't reply on the chat within 2 seconds, and they are frustrated. So how things have changed, and one of the reason is that the experience that we are getting from things that we daily use, like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Netflix, Spotify, the experience is so convenient that we are now so much used to that, getting that information. Like now even the deliveries, like some apps, Amazon and some other apps as well, are doing 30 minutes delivery at home. So the convenience has changed like everything. So reducing the effort is something which you should look forward to if you are planning a goal for 2022 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like this is a really great point. I have another one slide to talk specifically about this. I'll share that one story around that. Okay. Thanks, Tanish.
Okay.
This.
Yeah, good.
So yeah, look at this one. This is like a different way that I'm going to tell you about the NPS, CES, and CSAT. I'm sure that you all know about NPS is Net Promoter Score, 0 to 10, CES, like, on a scalar note, and CSAT. But we all know that like customer experience, like based out of on the 3 E's, that is easy, effective, and emotion. So if I break it down, these 3 metrics, the CES goes to the easy part. So that is the first tier, first level of the metric, that why someone would like to connect with your brand or service is the easiness. If you are not easily approachable, you are not easy enough to be useful, then I think forget it. They will not be able to use yourself. They will not be able to work on your program to give you effectiveness, that okay, how effective your program is, how effective your product is. So that is where the CSAT comes into the picture. CSAT gives you that, okay, if I use Spotify and if for the first time, I will say, wow, what the grade is. But if somebody has like used more effective product, they probably say that, oh, I think something could have been more better. So it's upon the perception of the customer, that how he has used the other products, and they try to relate that. And that is where it comes to your CSAT part. And NPS is actually an emotional touch point, because you are like in love with the brand, to understand that, hey, this is something that I would do anything for that. So I think NPS is a great matrix to create a brand loyalty. But to create a brand loyalty, it requires a lot of touch points. So you have to make sure that you are actually imbibed in that product or services. So we'll talk about that. But let's keep focus. And I think like I want to make sure that today you understand that the NPS, CES, CSAT is a part of a 3 E's. Easy is CES. Effective, if you want to measure effectiveness, that is your CSAT. And if you're trying to do something around the emotion, then that is where your NPS
is useful.
Matrix goes.
Perfect.
You want to add anything on this?
No, it's perfect. You mentioned everything.
All right. And guys, if you have any question, ask. Feel free to chat in the box, like we'll take it up. All right, so let's look at this. Where are they used? I think like this is very important thing to understand. We know that okay, there is a CES, CSAT, NPS, but where are they used? And most of the company, try to use NPS everywhere, like all the places. So I think like that is something that I would say, hang on, that's not the best way to do it. Don't do it like everywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start with CES. CES, like I said, that it's identify how much effort is needed from the customer. And I will say that it helps in acquisition. And somebody asked me that, hey, NK, how CS can help in acquisition? I said, okay, let's see that if you have a high effort score, if you have high effort from customer to use the product, will the customer will be able to onboard? No, for sure. So if you are able to work out on the customer effort, if you reduce this, how easy the onboarding process is, you will be able to have more and more acquisition around that. So that is why I say that CES is your first place, first baby step to get the customer into your house. So make sure that you welcome them in a way that like they feel very easy to come to your, come to you, right?
Yeah.
And then second is like CSAT. CSAT is basically how you welcome them. Now they are like in your house. So you greet them, you give them like a lot of breakfast and try to show, help them and feel them comfortable in the usage, right? How they're trying to use your different parts of it. So this is where gives like organization services and support. So this CSAT, because like when the customer is in your product and service, he will ask that, hey, how can I do this? I have a problem. How can you help me? These are the type of things people ask you. And that is where the CSAT comes. Like, are you able to help and support customers' requirement there? And that is where you ask for that. How satisfied are you with our services? So that is where you put your CSATs, and it gives you positive and negative movements. So basically, whether they were able to, if you are able to give them a positive note, it will be like a positive sentiment versus like negative sentiment if they are not able to do that. So you will be also able to find the relation between the churn and the retention there. So just take a note of that. And third, NPS. All right, I'm gonna definitely talk about this, is that don't send NPS in first interaction, that okay, somebody logs in onto your website looking at this and trying to onboard and say how likely are you to recommend. Don't do that. That's killing, right? So NPS is always requires a multiple touch points. Like, make sure that customer has enough time understanding your product, understanding your services. He has got a chance to evaluate this. And once that evaluation happens, then you are able to ask that NPS question. And that is why it says that need more moments with customer. And what is moment? What is moment? Moment is basically when you are interacting with your brand, when you are working out with the service, and you are able to create a magic in that moment. So if you are able to create those magics, like positive magics in that moment, you are definitely going to get like a brand loyalty around that.
Yeah. So I'll add. Yeah, I'll add a couple of things, like to summarize what NK mentioned. So CS is something where wherever you can use CS whenever there is an effort required from the customer. For example, they are trying to contact you over your contact center, and they are waiting in the queue, and they are struggling to get the agent to talk to them and then getting their issue resolved. So there's an effort that is required from customers' end of doing it. And same way, when they're using your product or onboarding into your product, that is where CES is helpful. And if you talk about CSAT, CSAT is helpful. For example, if you have taken a ride, you just sit in the cab, have taken a Gojek, an Uber ride, and after the ride is complete, they send you a CSAT survey. Why CSAT there? Because there's no effort required to do that. Effort was just required to maybe book the ride, but there was no effort required while you were sitting in it because the driver was taking you there. So that's why CSAT is used there. And NPS is used if we are going through the this example only, the Uber one. NPS must be used when you have taken like 4 or 5 rides. You already know how the brand is, the Uber or Gojek, or Grab, how the brand is doing on 4 or 5 interactions. Then it's the right time to send an NPS. Or maybe if you look at Netflix example, you have watched 4 or 5 movies, then only Netflix actually had to ask you, like, after using it for a month or two, you have watched 5 movies, Was it good? Would you recommend Netflix to someone? So just to summarize these things,
Yep,
key things I
absolutely.
would say. And Olia, okay. So I have a question, NK, from Olia. Between
Good.
CES, CSAT, and NPS, which one needs to be done regularly or trend to get the real journey story of the customer? Should we answer it here or in the use case section, NK?
Let's answer this in the
Use
journey
case section, right?
use case.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So Olia will answer this in like after a couple of slides, and you'll
yeah.
get the update then.
That's
Okay.
a great question. Thank you for asking, Alia.
Yeah. And there is another thing, do they relate to specific sectors? So if I'm doing this for bank versus restaurant versus FMCG, so yes, they definitely do relate. So just think about when you're using CES, was there any effort required from the customer? Yes, you can use it. And if there was no effort from the customer, it was just a product that they consumed, then CSAT is going to be more helpful.
Yeah.
And if you talk about NPS, definitely it matters over industry. We are also going to talk about that too in the latest section. But NPS is about when they have used like 4 or 5 times your product has been used, or they have interacted with your support, and they have done a lot of stuff with your brand. Actually, they have gotten some value from your brand. Then NPS is something that you should send. Hope
Awesome.
I answered your question, Rania. Noor has a question, NK, that I'll give it to you. I have a question. Can you give example to apply CES in e-commerce? Give an example to apply CES in e-commerce.
Awesome. Yeah, I think thank you for asking this question. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So in e-commerce, see, the effort score is very easy for returning a product. I would say very, very simple one. So like whenever we get a product, it's a effort from customer to how easily they are able to find the product, when they are trying to do it. So how well are if it is e-commerce, they are looking at the product site and understand how easily they can reach to the product what they want. And
Absolutely.
the time revert back, I have seen that a lot of issues and problem happens in e-commerce when they try to do the payment. So do the payment system is pretty good, how easy was to complete your payment option. So that is another touch point for CS.
Or
And
complete your checkout. Yeah,
yeah,
makes sense.
and that and another one that is very critical is the return option. So how easy was it to return? I think these three are very emotional and associated with consumers. And if you look at that and answer these things, I think definitely you'll have great customer experience.
Yeah. Okay. So benchmarking one will take later. We'll take one last question, NK, from Beena. What's good method for NPS, specific for when good timing to NPS X weekly, monthly, or quarterly? I think we are also answering this in one of the slides, right?
Yeah.
We are answering this in one of the slides, so we'll take it there. Okay.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so let's move to the next section, NK.
Yeah, appreciate the questions. Okay, let's look at this. What happened? So it says that 62% of the customers say their experience with one industry influence their experience with others. So I think I'm just going to tie up with what you have said, Tanuj, earlier, that if somebody has offered, if somebody has used e-commerce, for example, and they got to know that, how the experience to get the delivery in one day. All right. And then if you try to use another e-commerce website, and they will expect better or at least the same experience with the other website. So if you're using Tokopedia or Shopify, who is the best? So if people have already used Tokopedia, they will say that, all right, if I'm going to do Shopify, then I really need to make sure that on the delivery side and also on the return side, I should expect the same experience. So 62% people have fluctuated experience if they are using multiple different variations of your product and services. So basically competitions makes huge impact there. So if you are in a specific industry, you have to make sure that to understand how easy your competition is making this to the customer. So for example, if you're in a banking industry, if somebody is trying to open an account or get a credit card or get a loan, how easy for them to get this as compared to what the process that you have. this is going to really break the market, right?
Yeah.
So this is a really critical point to note today.
So there are two very interesting questions, NK. One is actually really interesting. Listen to this. I'll answer this. Okay. So I'm working in the smartphone industry, and sometimes we see the problem to measure loyalty by using NPS. Actually, the NPS of a product is quite good. They are quite satisfied with our product, but when they would like to upgrade in the higher price, they choose more aspirational brands. Okay. Then in that case, does NPS still useful to measure loyalty, or we should modify how we should measure on it? So actually, really great question. This came from Praditya Andika. So I'll answer this. So it depends. First of all, I currently don't know your smartphone brand, but it depends on how your messaging is and what is the target audience that you are going after. So if you look at Redmi as an example, Redmi targets users who can afford mobile phones. So they do not target users which have a budget of like $1,000 to buy an iPhone, buy a phone. And but iPhone does that. So iPhone has a target market which is what are the kind of people who can afford an iPhone, and they are like good quality white collar workers, right? Or like they're working in a marketing domains, or they're working in IT domain, and they're earning good money, and SESA kind of people. And if I talk about Redmi, they are SESC DE kind of people who can afford a smartphone. So now it depends totally on the persona that you have. So if Redmi tomorrow brings a phone which costs the $1,000 like an iPhone, people will not buy that because the perception of this brand is that it is suitable for more affordability. But for iPhone, the perception of the brand is it is suitable for more class, right? Or the people who can actually like expensive products, new tech products. So this question cannot be answered from the NPS. It totally depends on when only they'll prefer the upgraded phone from you. Otherwise, they'll keep on buying the cheaper products from you and the expensive ones from iPhone and Samsung.
Yeah. I think like if you really want like to go into the higher products, then I think you need to change your marketing strategies and bring in that, okay, now you are going to provide those top-notch
change the name
services as well.
So
Yes,
for new
absolutely.
phones, change the name. Like Toyota has done it. Even Maruti Suzuki has done it. So they launched Nexa because they wanted to sell premium cars. So change the name. It works, but don't try to sell upgraded stuff from the same name because people won't buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
So one more question, NK. How to calculate CES score? Is it using 5-scale rating for each statements that we check? Like 1 to 5, very difficult to very easy. That is one way of doing it. 5-scale, like you mentioned, and the other one is 1 to 7, where how like people ask how much effort did you put in to get your issue resolved, from strongly agree to strongly disagree. That kind of question. There are 2 ways to do it. Yeah,
I have a slide for that. I think like we will be sharing this particular slide with you all, so you will see the scoring calculation as well. So I have like CES, CSAT, and NPS scoring calculation in the next slides. So we'll share that.
Okay.
All right.
Let's go to the next slide.
Okay. So I think we talked about NPS, CES, CSAT. Now let's see how this helps. Means like if you apply them, what they are going to give it back to you, right? So CES is actually going to give you resource optimization. Understand this. Why resource optimization? Because when you are going to improve, like or lower the customer effort, then you have to do something that your resource are like much more easily able to address the questions of customer, and they're able to resolve the queries in just one option, right? So it's like first time resolution has been increased. That could be one thing. Improve the technology, like easy adoption processes. And in contact center, it actually improves the loyalty, because like every time if somebody goes to your contact center and ask anything, and if they are able to solve the problem at the first call itself, it is actually able to increase the loyalty as well. So CES is actually going to help organization to optimize their resources, improve their technologies, processes, and increase the loyalty. CSAT, this is the metric that finds the gap between the customer expectation and your delivery. So it could be that like you have a vision statement that, okay, this is what you are trying to deliver to that, but customer may have a different perception, like because he might have been using some different product, or he's coming from a different culture, so he will have like certain different perception of your usage of a product. So they will always, CSAT will always give you a gap of the customer expectation, and that gives you the opportunity to add more functionalities, create new avenues of revenue. So CSAT is most important in that. And NPS for sure, it's a key indicator of probable churn and customer loyalty. So if you're doing NPS on a regular basis, you would really be able to understand that which customers are going to be churned very soon, so you can do a proactive action around that. But don't like wait too long, because we had done like NPS session earlier, so please watch that. You will get more understanding on the NPS and close to customer. You want to add anything on this, Tanuj?
No, I think it's good. So I'm receiving so many questions and
great. So one thing I wanted to share this is very correlation between the loyalty and the effort. So I just want to make sure that lower the effort, better the loyalty. So probably if you want to put it this, just snap it out and put it on your desk, do it, because if you are talking to someone or you're trying to help and support someone, try to see that how much lower effort from the party to get the things done. If the lower the effort, definitely he will be much more loyal to you. So
yeah,
that's the one thing that I want to share that on this one.
So there's a question that came from Vikram. He says, for utility product, example product that users use infrequently for housekeeping tasks, what is the right metric to gauge, CES or CSAT? So for your first question, Vikram, the answer is like if that product requires effort to set it up, then CES would help, and a CSAT would help how satisfied you are. I think both questions can come in there. I don't know which product that you are talking about, but just to give you a hint. And then how to send this survey, like you can send an email, SMS, or even a WhatsApp survey, depending on what they prefer, the audience actually where they are. And you can send it to them post use, like 2 to 3 months after they use, or 6 months, depending on what kind of product it is and how infrequent it is used. And there's also a good idea, Vikram, when if we are selling something, we should generally be able to understand from our first 100 or 200 customers that what are their usage ways, like how often or how frequent they use it. And that way we can set up the survey and send the survey. So you can use CSAT, CES both depending on it, and you can send it depending on just checking what is the average time a customer gets the value from that product that you're talking about.
Yep. And I think there is a lot of question actually, Vikram, you answered is that how and what score should be there. So I think like if you're doing for the first time, like don't look at that whether I should do 1 to 5 or 1 to 7. Don't worry much about it, because 1 to 5 or 1 to 7 is means for like if you're doing some benchmarking or like trying to record over a period of time. But I think like if you ask me that what it should be, go for 1 to 5 and start your journey, and then take actions that will help you out.
Yeah. Okay, and then there's another question. What is the best metrics used for B2B, considering that customers in B2B segment is not an end user, and the decision making for choose a product service in B2B involving multiple parties within the organization? So best metrics used for B2B, again, it depends on the journey, the customer journey, where they are. If you are talking about after onboarding, the best method would be to add how easy was it in the CES and also the NPS, because if your onboarding is taking like a 1 month or a 2 month, depending on how much the onboarding it takes, you can combine CES and NPS both together. So there's no best like metric, and I think we should never standardize it. Depending on what is your use case, how your customers travel, you should pick up any metrics. Do not standardize it that whatever everyone is using, I have to use it. For some people, I've seen NPS is not even useful, and for some people CES is not even useful. So totally just think about what is your industry, how much time it takes for customers to onboard, what are the touch points, and then you decide which metric to use. And we are also going to talk about it in just a moment. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like I appreciate like a lot of questions here. I think one question came from Dalia about TNPS, that we do it like on a daily basis, but there is like sometimes the issues are with like outage of like technical outage, and the scores goes like off, and the score is often affected by technical outage or the other reasons and not connected to the touch points. And please do
Good question.
demotivate the agent. I think absolutely great insight on that. And I think like see we often have to note down, like if you create a journey for agents, like if you're trying to look at the agent satisfaction and you're doing some action on that, you you also need to know that when the outage time was there and what was the impact of the NPS during that time period, and don't include that into your overall part of it, right? So I think whenever we have an outage or like some critical situation, that you would understand that, hey, during this period to this period there was certain problem there around, so you're already aware of this. So don't use that like that time frame to understand like a overall picture, I would say that. Yeah.
And also one thing, like if the leadership is strong, you can actually eliminate those scores from the agent's criteria. Like I'm sure that you are asking this question because you're measuring agents' performance, and also agents get upset when they get a negative score about something which they were not responsible for. So if your leadership is good, then you should just completely ignore those CSAT in their terms, and you should actually send that feedback to the teams who will be actually responsible for it. So it's as simple as that, but leadership needs to be strong there. Yeah, NK.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like this is very good use case. Certain time of that situation, how you have to motivate your agent that like don't worry about the score, because you know that there's something wrong.
Absolutely.
People will come back and say that, hey, this thing is broken. Why it's not working? We have paid for this, and how they handle the situations, and then like and I think like most important thing, that why do I need to ask an NPS at that time, because I know that things are broken. You are going to get like a bad score. Why you're asking this, right? Can you not like stop that? Okay, we know that something is broken, so if something is broken, we don't need to ask the NPS. Try to change the question type or change the question wording accordingly, like in saying that, hey, we are aware of the situation happened and this and that. How could we do that? So something is, you have to change that, make it personalized rather than just sending the standard NPS, TNPS to gauge loyalty. And it is going to impact the customer's behavior, that, hey, the product team or like the organization already know that there is a problem, but they're still going to ask me that, hey, how do I, recommend them? Obviously, will not recommend that, right? So I think like those situational stuff that we also need to take care of.
So let's go to the next sections, NK, because some of the questions will be answered. Sure, take it.
Our company uses CSI. So Jaram has asked this question. Our company uses CSI instead of CSAT. Suggestions. We gauge insights with CS, NPS, and CSI in pharma business. Versus CSI are both needed. So great question. So basically, if you look at like specifically industry-wise, like the CSI in pharma has been used from the long time, and how it has been used from the legacy has been carried out for going forward, right? So you have to understand that if the CSI measure still working for you, please go ahead and do it. Don't change, don't break it up, right? And at the same time, if you are more focused on understanding the gaps, understanding the expectation of the customer on a specific point in time, then you can add CSAT question on that. All right.
Okay.
Okay, let's move next. All right. So
this is an interesting one.
This is interesting one, yeah. So we talked about this, and now how CS influences. I think if you look at, I'm just going to tie up, lower the effort, better the loyalty. But how in the numbers, if you look at how it works here, right? So relationship, first of all, so there are three buckets here. So relationship, effort with purchase, right? 94% low effort, you will have higher relationship with the repurchase. So you are going to have like 94% people who are going to repurchase from you. Second, if you have low effort, about 88%, they will increase the spending. So you're going to have 94% repurchase, 88% increased spending. Now, third one, very important bucket, yeah. The relationship effort with negative
Word of mouth.
word of mouth, WM actually word of mouth, right? So if you have high effort, 81% people is going to talk about it. Like, okay, I went there, like, the onboarding process was like, too long, so that like I could not, I just switched, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Finding a product and, doing the transaction was like too long process. Quit it. So people like, switch from one to another, and also like create a negative word of mouth, 81%. Now I
Yeah.
want to add here that NPS
Mm-hmm.
promoters, like if you have like, a great promoters, they have like a positive word of mouth, right? But at the same time, that gives you the loyalty. But it's a probable metric that they are highly likely to recommend, and they will likely to be loyal to the like next subscription whenever like revision is being done. But if the effort score is negative, the damage is done already.
Yeah.
So if I have to prioritize between NPS and CES, then I would say that, hey, let's prioritize on the CES at the first time, because CES is like more impactful here, because it is going to, if I don't fix it, it is going to create much more trouble. And once it is being fixed up, NPS is going to give you like a great value. So I think CES is, that is why I feel that CES is much more important and very, very powerful metric to for any organization.
Yeah.
You want to add
And
anything on this,
uh,
Tanuj?
I think for effort, the only thing that I want to add is there are two places. One is you have to focus on user experience. Talking about any product, because most of the companies have product now, the technology and everything. So make it as better as you can, as easy as you can. Then it will be much easier for users to adopt your product. So one is UX for any tech product. One for service. Make sure that they don't have to wait for 30 minutes in the queue to reach out to the agent. And also if somehow you have a great CRM system that you are using, it can be anyone, all the data about the customer is stored there properly. You are training the agents to do that, because when there is a shift of calls, like transfer of calls from one agent to other, that pisses off customers more than anything.
Yep.
So support and a product, that is where this effort score will actually help you reduce it if you can. And uh, if you make it easy for customers to do business with you, they will reward you with loyalty. Yeah.
Yeah,
And go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, good. I was just reading the question in the time. There's very interesting
Yeah.
questions to answer.
Yeah. So there was an interesting question by Natalia that how can we prove ROI of
Yeah.
investment and do a correlation between customer loyalty and satisfaction. So actually, there you will have to run analysis, Natalia. So there's no easy way to do it. So you look at your Power BI's dashboards or Tableau dashboards. You have NPS data and you have sales data or revenue or retention data, and then you find correlation. Just running simple maths of correlation is the only way to do it. For that, you just need a software, even an Excel, where every data comes in. So both the sources are there actually. One is this the business data, you would say, or operations data, and the second is the customer centric data, which is the survey data. So you'll
Yeah.
have to get these data together and correlate to find a relation. And it's not always you'll find it. In some industries you will do, in some industries you won't do. But maybe if you are not finding it with CSAT, you might find it with NPS or CES or anything. But unless you try, you will never know.
Yeah, I think I would address this question a little differently as well. Just one pointer for
Yeah.
Natalia is calculating ROI is one of the critical thing, and everybody wants to understand that, hey, if I'm doing this exercise, what is the ROI out of this? And like having like some ROIs are there, yes. So for example, that if you're using CES, and people are able to increase the value that you are doing with that, right? So if you look at less friction provided you the higher, so it's very, very relevant. And I have seen that like lower effort score has already given you the repurchase part of it. So you can see that any activity, like if somebody has given you the feedback in a CES metric, that okay, and if you take action on that and you are able to take action, and it will impact the overall like onboarding of the process. So I'll tell you one example that one of our customer has been like, using the digital app, and the digital app was like having some issue, and that with that, like they were not able to choose that specific what is that, like the what is wallet, specific wallet for that to do the transaction. And they said that, can we add that, because they were not able to find it, and there were a lot of transaction was missing out. And when they started adding this, they see that like more and more people are using those specific wallet, and they realize that how they could have missed that, right? So I would say that like focusing on the these small tiny things will really give you the ROI, but you have to look at that how you relate this data, all of that. So you have your operational data and your experience data, combine this together and see the correlation, you'll be able to get that. And I think like if you want to know more, I think we can discuss that offline as well.
Yeah. Okay. So NK, let's move to the next slide.
Oh yeah, sure.
So many questions today. I'm loving it.
Okay. Awesome. So let's see the next. All right. So now I think like you have asked me many questions now. Let me ask you a question. And you can just put a chat like on this, and it's an open question here. So what key CX metric do you use? I think like some of them has shared like they're using CSI, but if I have to ask you that, what is the key CX metric currently you are using in your organization? So if you could put that into the chat box, would be really helpful to understand that.
And it could be different from NPS, CES, CSAT as well, because these are the not the only metrics. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's give like maybe a few seconds more.
Yeah. Anyone would like to answer?
Or if anybody want to like talk about it, like, and they have like, they want to come on and speak about that, like we can take that as well. Like in like different industries, like, they have, if you're in contact center, you have like more in like metrics based on performance of the agent, understanding call resolution. And so it depends upon like which department also are you there. So I think I have also seen that there is departmental wise metrics, but here we are talking about that as in as a metric that can be leveraged across the department and across the organization to deliver a great customer experience. Yeah.
I think all people have already answered this, so let's move to the next slide.
All right, so let's do that. So I think like what we're going to do next is that we're going to talk about a specific use case review and understand that how CES, CSAT has been deployed across the journey touchpoint. And I think like there are a couple of questions people have asked around this, like, when to use CES and when to use CSAT, which touchpoints. And I think like we will be able to address those questions in the next slides.
Yeah.
So let's, Tanuj, you want to go ahead with this one?
Yeah, so you'll have to help me here. So guys, we'll review a typical insurance journey. If any one of you have ever bought a insurance product, you'll be able to relate it very easily. So let's take a journey of a customer who has actually purchased an insurance product. So the first thing that they are going to get is they are going to receive a call from the insurance company, which will be kind of like a welcome or onboarding call, explaining them everything that how where they can use this insurance, what are the terms and conditions involved, so that they the customer is absolutely clear. But this is call initiated by the company. Second is policy receive. Again, company initiates an email or a home policy deliverable. They send the policy at their home or the email of the customer. Again, another thing done from the company. Now comes the contact center. So now let's suppose some customer had a problem and they now contact the call center via email or via chat or phone, social media or anything, or phone. And this is where the customer's effort is required, because they are trying to make a connection, getting their issue resolved or queries resolved. Go ahead, NK. Go to the fifth one. Yeah, it's something similar. And then let's suppose God forbid they had to make a claim, and they are in the hospital and they had to make a claim, or their family members had to make a claim, be it online or manual. So they'll fill a form and get those claim process, so that they receive their money back if they're doing if the insurance is about that you'll get money later but you pay before. So depending on it, they'll definitely have to file the claim process. And then the last step they would take in this life cycle is the renewal of policy. How they are renewing it, how they are making the payment and stuff like this. And apart from this, the another use case will be that they'll just leave. and not use the insurance if they're not satisfied. So these are the 6 steps that we have covered. And now let's talk about in which step CSAT, CES or NPS can be used.
Yeah, I think before going to the next slide, Tanuj, I would want like all of the audience to understand and put up their thoughts that, okay, which all these touch points will be CES and which touch points will be a CSAT. So you can think of that, okay, post-purchase will be what? CS or CSAT. Policy will be CS or CSAT. So think about it, and then we'll share that, what exactly it is, and then you can compare. All right, so let's see that.
Okay. So let's move to the next slide. Yeah. So now let's see where CES CSAT fits in. So for the first one, we recommend to use CSAT. Why? Because this is something which is initiated by the company. Company is making the call, or their agent is making the call to welcome the customer that you have purchased the insurance, and these are the things that they'll have to do. So we'll use a CSAT. After that call is finished, you send a survey. How satisfied were you with the call today? 1 to 5 scale. Simple. The second is policy received. Once you receive the policy, be it email, be it via home, you send another survey once they have received it, that how satisfied were you with the policy? Did it have all the information that you required, or is there something missing? Just simple 2-3 questions, and that's it. The third is contact center. So let's suppose they have contacted the contact center via phone, via email, or via chat. So after the agent closes that via email, chat, or even phone, you ask them how easy it was to get your issue resolved. So that is where CES comes in the contact center. And then the another one comes, the next journey point is online or manual claim process, where you are actually filing the manual claim process via pen and paper, or doing it online on their website if the company has the online. So then again, the customer is making the effort to actually fill this form, and then the application processing time and everything will be done. So after like application is processed, whether the claim is rejected or reviewed, you'll have to send a CES that how easy was it to file that claim process. And then renewal of policy. So now it depends whether you'll have to call to get your policy renewed, or you have to use a website to get your policy renewed. CES is something that will help there because you are making an effort to get this done. But if in some of the insurance companies I've seen, proactively sales agent actually give you a call that your policy is about to renew, the time is expiring, would you like to renew? If that is happening, then a CSAT will be very helpful. Yeah. CSAT can also be asked at step 3 for sure. Once we want to know a little bit about how the agent was, it can be asked at step 3, right, Shivansh? So guys, now you can start asking your questions. If you hope we answered everything that was asked where it should be used. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, we'll move to the section and review a contact center survey. What is a good number of CES, NPS, and CSAT that can be used as standard?
Yeah,
actually, we should not. You want to answer it? Go ahead, Ankit. Yeah.
So yeah, I have another slide. I will definitely have like what is actually good number of NPS, because we know that. But I think, see, the good number is that like which one is working for you. I would say that like if the number is working well for you and you are able to attract new customer and increase revenue, that number is good. But if you talk about the industry wise, so industry wise, there is some standard benchmark has been done already. So you could see those numbers are there. So it depends upon that. If you are like from the contact center, or if you're from the healthcare or banking, there is specific benchmark studies there that you can drive through and see which is the industry standard. But again, you have to follow that, like which area you are. Like if you're in like in a Southeast Asia, or if you're in like in a UK or US, or like in India, so there is like a different geographical impact as well on these things. So we have to also take a look on that as well.
Yeah, and also like if I talk about good numbers, CES, NPS, CSAT are all good numbers to have. But the most important thing is, are you taking actions on the feedback that is coming in?
I think like the best thing is that like you are talking about CS, NPS, and CSAT, right? So means like you're already doing this. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. But to make
so just
sure
make sure that to take actions. Yeah.
They
Yeah,
actually
okay, go ahead.
mature this and do a comparison. I would say I always feel that, like, we have to always look at the like ourselves, like being better from yesterday, and see how we are improving. But yes, if you want to look at a benchmark at the industry to set a goal, do that, but don't set a goal that's too high or too low.
Yeah, absolutely. And also don't make sure that whoever team is responsible for sending those surveys, and if you have given a goal, they are not just sending surveys to people who are satisfied. They are sent to random people. And also make sure, in some of the companies where sales agents are involved, they call the person and say, can you give us a score of 10 because my KPI is related to this. Can you, if you give me a 10 score, I'll give you something in return. So make sure that you are also monitoring that these kind of gaming is not happening. Otherwise, score will make no sense at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like, there is a lot we can talk about this. I'm
Yeah.
holding myself.
Okay, so let's move on to the next,
Okay,
because in
okay.
NPS benchmarking we are going to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Arun, Niditya, we will answer this in the NPS benchmarking section. So just I'll quickly take you to a survey which is for helps in contact center. The first is like, as soon as the customer calls you and agent has closed the call, you send them a survey immediately if the integrations are done. That but the first question is your issue resolved? If they say yes, then you move ahead with how easy was it to get it resolved, 1 to 5 scale, from very difficult to very uh, easy. And the second is what can be improved. Simple two questions. But if they answer no, if the ticket was closed but the issue was not resolved, ask them what happened, just an open-ended question, and then alert the agent that customer is not satisfied with the ticket resolution, or why you have closed the ticket. Please have a look. And also alert their leaders so that they know if something is going wrong with the agent side, or maybe the customer did not understand what we are trying to do. So that's one. Can you move to the next slide? Because in the first question that we asked, like how easy was it to get your issue resolved, you are able to understand the overall process of like calling and getting the issue resolved. But now you also need to understand how the agent was doing, so that you can train them better from the next time. So for that, in the same survey, you can ask 3 drivers questions, like, was the agent able to understand the problem? Like, were they actually listening? Was the agent knowledgeable? Was the agent polite? Just a simple 1 to 5 rating driver question, so that you know what things we have to help the agent to improve on. Don't make it as the agent performance metrics. Just look at where the agent has to improve. So this is something that we would recommend. And don't keep more than 3 to 5 drivers, and make sure your drivers are related to what you guys do. Don't follow the practice of just asking these 3 which we have mentioned. So it depends on what your contact center is, how your industry is, how your agent is, like general process of getting the issues resolved. So make sure you ask these 3 drivers according to that. Yeah, NK.
Yep. Okay. So I think I just wanted to, ask only relevant and priority key driver question here. So just make sure. So let's talk about NPS now.
NPS. Yeah. So there was a question that was asked, like, in which industry we should use NPS and how we should use NPS. So ideally, the simple answer is, when customers had enough opportunities to utilize your service or product, then you should send the NPS. And now it depends on 3 things. One is what industry you are in. Second is your contact term, monthly, yearly, or just one time. And also, when is the time when customers start receiving value from your offerings. So let's take from example of a B2B SaaS company. So most SaaS products that you have seen are monthly, quarterly, or yearly subscriptions. So if your stat starts delivering value from the first 15 days itself, like for us, for SurveySensum, it starts doing in 15 days. Then we ask the NPS question every 30 days to a customer. So it happens inside the product, and they just simply answer from 1 to 10 how likely they are to recommend. But if it is a product like Salesforce or a HubSpot or a Zendesk, which takes like 2 to 3 months for you to get the value from the product, then a quarterly survey will make more sense about NPS. but you already know that from this time in that 3 months, customer has actually used the product well.
Yep.
And in B2B, one question was also asked that there are some product users and there are some decision makers. So in these cases, you'll have to send the survey to both of them in the 3 months. So product users and business users, because business users are or decision makers will actually decide whether they will renew or not. Product users will influence that behavior for sure. So you need to know from both of them by asking the NPS question. And if you're using inside the product survey, make sure that you're using an email survey as well for the decision makers, because they are not using the product most of the time. Second industry is like automobile. So for example, if you buy a new car, you start getting some value from day one. That's okay. But actual value you get it when you have run it from 1,000 miles and also get your few services done. Which for a new car you get your services done after 1,000 miles or 2,000 miles. So sending a survey after 6 months make more sense there rather than a quarter, because it depends when you have completed those 1 to 5,000 miles. For insurance, it's a little bit tricky. Sometimes like people go years without making a call or without even using a claim. So NPS sending once a year is absolutely fine. You don't have to do that more than that. And for OTT platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Hotstar, whatever you guys use, most of the users will get the value in the first 1 month, but people are very frequent users. So and the subscription is mostly quarterly or yearly. So asking NPS after 3 months makes more sense there. What must be ideal for gaming? So Arunaditya has asked this question. So Arunaditya, so for gaming, it now depends on like how often people actually use or play your game. Is it on a daily basis? If it's on a daily basis, then a monthly or a quarterly NPS survey will make more sense. Yeah. Okay. NK, are you there?
Oh, yes. Actually, I just my
That's okay.
battery was disconnected. Okay, awesome.
Can you move to the next slide?
Yeah, sure. Let's move that. NPS benchmarking. This is my favorite one.
So, okay, when to use NPS for e-commerce? I'll answer that question. So, e-commerce generally, when people have bought at least 1 to 2 things, got them delivered from you. For example, if it's Tokopedia, Amazon, a 3-month survey after a quarter, NPS after a quarter will make more sense. You will get some users who have just installed the app but not used your product at all or purchased anything. If you know that, you don't have to ask NPS for them. If you can somehow get this data while sending the survey that this is like they have never used it, they have never purchased it, don't ask NPS from them, because there will be no point. Other than CX touch points, when we use CS to the customers, I
think I would address that question. Is
sure,
try to like when to ask what. Like if you want to do that, like it's very simple that if you haven't done the customer journey program for them, try to understand the journey of your customer, right? And while you do that, you will be able to understand that which are the areas that where you would need feedback from the customer, and which and where we need to ask those questions. So I would recommend that for if you are planning to ask CS, we don't have to just say that, okay, at this point we need to ask CS, at this point we need to ask CS. Do a complete customer journey mapping for your customers, and then you can plan it out that which areas that where you have to ask CS or CSAT.
Okay. Perfect. So let's talk about NPS benchmarking. So benchmarking, how it is used. So like we currently discuss about how CSAT and CES are used for the complete journey touch points, and why they are important, because you need to ask your customers at the time they are using those services or products or after that interaction, that how was their experience, because they will not remember it if you ask it once a year. And NPS or CSAT benchmarkings are generally a yearly or a half yearly kind of surveys, right? So make sure that you are doing those transactions, CSATs and CES, to fix the issues And NPS benchmarking is only used to compare yourself against competition and also measure the overall relationship within your customers, that how they overall feel as a brand. But if you look at the responses that will come in from NPS benchmarking, very little responses will be able to guide you on what things to improve. They will be just be able to guide you on an overall level how customers feel about your brand. So make sure that you're not just doing NPS benchmarking, you are combining these two. And NPS benchmarking is used for relationships, and CES, CSAT are used for fixing the regular stuff that your customers are facing in your customer journey. The other part for NPS benchmarking is you have to make sure that you are comparing benchmarks only between your industry or service or product, not any other industry. So if you are an OTT and if you're looking at car platforms, it doesn't make sense at all to compare NPS there, because for some industries like telecom, you'll see the NPS is very low anyway, less than 10, but that doesn't mean they're doing like pretty bad. So there is an opportunity there to improve, but all of the telecom, you'll see that the ratings are low. And same goes for Wi-Fi and broadband companies. The second is do not compare NPS benchmarking from country to country, because there is a cultural difference. So if you look at the NPS scores given in UK and Indonesia, they are way less as you compare it to the US. People don't generally give a 9 or a 10 here. 8 is also considered a good one. So the NPS score will be low, but that doesn't matter because the culture differences makes this happening. So you have to make sure that you do not never compare NPS from different countries or cultures. And sample size, I think NK, you wanted to talk about this. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So understand like the to whom you are asking, and I think there are a couple of questions also in the chat box. Is we are getting like good response, like a positive response, and like some customers are giving bad response. So whenever we are doing like the benchmarking or your like any type of feedback survey where you're actually choosing sample, so make sure that the segmentation has been done really very well, that you are not choosing that all the good customers to ask the feedback, or the customer who are like not satisfied or who haven't done the transaction with you in the last couple of months that you are trying to reach out and do it. So segmentation really plays a very pivotal role. So your data can be like skewed data if you are not finding that right segment of the customer are answering it. So please make sure that you are having right sample on that, right? And say for example, if you're doing a competition benchmarking and also on that, right? So understand that don't, and if you are like having a sample of that from your competition, so make sure that the sample that is being used for the competition services versus like the customer that have used your services, make sure that those samples are also matched up. It should not be like that, okay, he's a promoter of that, like and then like a good of your competition, then most likely they will give you a low score on that, right? So don't make sure that like that is why what we reflect here is that NPS benchmarking is helpful just to get like a big picture, but if you really want to drive actions, we really need to look at and ask the feedback on a regular level, so that will drive your overall things. I think like just this things is very very critical. And people, like one of the key criteria that benchmarking doesn't go well because the sampling was not right. So make sure that like whatever you do for benchmarking, your sampling is accurate.
Yeah, and also about the relevant driver questions, right? So this is something that happens. I do a lot of discussion with the clients on when they are trying to set up NPS benchmarking. Is they want to do benchmarking and they want to ask so many different touch points in one question itself. How was the support? How was the app? How was this? How was that? How was this product? That product? And now think about if the customer has not used those products in the last 1 year, and you are still asking the question to them, what are you going to do with that response? They have never used that product or service or touch
Yeah,
points. So make sure
yeah, I think
if you're doing NPS benchmarking, ask only those things which are more frequent used by the customers, or just ask them a yes or no. Have you used these things? Then only send that survey. Yeah, NK,
Yeah, I
you want
think
to add?
it's more on the design of the survey, Tanuj, right?
Yeah.
So I have seen like various design of benchmarking surveys where like people will just have like any option at the end. So they'll feel like, okay, if customer has not used it, this product, they will just select any,
Yeah,
right?
that
But
also, that's also another way. Yeah,
yeah, but it's the easy part on the designing part. But like, are we taking care of that? What customer feels about it? Like customer will be more than happy to understand that if they understand, hey, I'm going to be asked only relevant question that I'm supposed to. Like that will
absolutely,
give you a great impact, right? So I think like
absolutely.
that's the key point there.
Make sure.
And
Yeah, yeah, go
moving
ahead.
to the next, I think like there are a couple of questions people are asked that what is the good NPS score, what is the good CSAT score, what is the target to make CS at the yeah, I think like see absolutely there are like a lot of industry benchmarks available, and we are more than happy to share with you. And please feel free to reach out to Tanuj or myself, and we can provide you the industry benchmark as well. So that should not be a problem. And specifically talking about the NPS score, so anything is above 0 is good. So that means that like you are in a good position. Above 20 means that you are in right direction. Above 50 means you're doing really well, and above 80 means that you're providing a great CX. So this is actually as per the standard from the Bain. You could follow that. And but still I would say that like if you are 15 and if somebody says that okay, I want to be at a target of 50, don't do that. Don't move your target from 15 to 50 just in one quarter, because CX, like it's a slow, like it's a process, and it
Yep,
it has it has to take its own time to deliver the value, right? So make sure that the jump from one goal to another goal, you just go step by step approach. So if you are like 15, make it like 25 or 30. If you are 30, make it like 50, and then from 50 try to target like 60 or 80. Don't
yeah,
say that okay by. And I think like this is the great example that when we had set up like SurveySensum NPS, we initially were like on the 20, and we had that okay, we will be go above 60, right, over the quarter. So we had measured it like every quarter by quarter that we have to go through. So it takes like a lot of effort and persistent actions like every time when you are doing this. So make sure that just don't set the goal, set the framework to achieve that goal, then only you'll be able to do that. Yeah.
absolutely. Now, if we really talk about it, although we have an NPS score of more than 60 NK now, but
Right.
actually that doesn't matter anymore, because the only thing that we are looking for is what are they saying in the verbatims, our
Yeah.
customers, and how we can improve on that. So currently the focus of the whole company is about improving what they're mentioning in the feedback rather than chasing the score. We don't chase score anymore. Like we started while chasing it, but not anymore, because we know if we deliver good CX, NPS, revenue, loyalty, everything will increase together. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like just very important thing, I think Tanuj has already mentioned in the previous slide, but if you look at the second last paragraph in this particular slide, it says that just to be sure, that increase in the NPS is happening because of the improvements you are making, right?
Mm.
And not because your team is asking that, hey, please give me like a 10, right? So don't do that. And
Yeah.
and I think like people ask that, hey, because people feel bad about when the customer gives you the bad rating. I think that was one
Mm.
of the question that agents feel overwhelmed, or like they don't feel good if customer is giving you the bad score. But I think like this is the more on the culture side, right?
Yeah.
So I think we have to build up a great culture where the low scores are celebrated as well, because like if you're
Yep.
getting a low score, it means that hey, this is an opportunity, right? This is something that where you can increase the score. What happens like
Absolutely.
if everybody is giving you like an average score to you, you will not have enough opportunity to increase the score, right? So if
Absolutely.
somebody is giving you a negative score, or somebody is saying that hey, and that's a good part, right? People are giving you the score. Think about it that
Mm.
like if people are like just stops and don't say
Stop
anything,
responding. Yeah. They stop responding. You
responding,
never
right?
know. You'll
You
never
never
know what's
know.
happening. Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. Like if somebody is giving me a low rating, I think like I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for providing me the opportunity to work out on this. And I
Right.
think like, let's get work on that and turn this to a positive, right? That should be the cultural impact in the organization. And don't uh, uh, tell, like, don't have the organization that say that, okay, you got like competitive, like, okay, your department low rating, my department high rating. It's not department rating, guys. This is like one team, and our aim is just to make sure that like we are delivering the great customer experience to our customer and making a better life. So the objective has to be around that, but not onto the numbers.
Yeah. So there's another question. If we want to target the score for monthly NPS, how much of monthly increment we should set? Maybe 2-3 points in the starting. Just see if you are making improvements. How much is the NPS increasing? Like, see the NPS trend over 6 months and see how NPS is increasing after you are making improvements, and then you can set monthly targets like that. Like NK mentioned a very good point, that don't overcommit and don't try to get good CX instantly, because it is going to take time, right? Everything, even if a product that you are making or a service you are delivering, it took some time to get you to that state that you are today. So don't think of NPS that you can get it fixed, or CX get it fixed instantly. It will take time. So set up targets very slowly. If your NPS is 30 today, just try to set up, I'm going to make these improvements. Let's see if it goes to 32 or 33 the next time, and then slowly and slowly build your monthly targets.
I would say
NK, go
that,
ahead.
like, I would say that, like, hey, we are talking about, like, goal setting about NPS on a weekly basis. So, like, also try and understand from the customer's point of view, right? It's not all about, business point of view that I want to keep increasing my NPS score. Just and see that every month, if you are setting up an expectation that I want to increase the NPS score. So my question would be that every month, what actions are we going to take to improve the customer experience? Are we also doing that? If yes, then you can expect a higher NPS score and you can set the goal. But if you just expect that, okay, my NPS should increase, but there is no like a framework for taking action on that week, on that particular month, then I think like it is not going to go in hand. So
Absolutely.
what I would say that, like, whenever you try to create any decision on the goal that, okay, we want to do this, try and understand from the customer point of view, and also understand from your execution point of view that how much you are able to execute, how much people are we trying to target. Are you targeting, like, what is your customer base? What if, like, only 20 people, like in a B2B space, that 20 people is going to give you the feedback, and next month probably just only we got the drop on the response rate, and we got only 5 response, and they give like all low feedback. So is my response rate, is my, like, NPS gone down? No. So it's not like looking at the data at aggregate level, but also need to look at that, hey, who exactly been answered, like who are my customer, what they are doing in that time period of time, what actions I am taking as an organization to help and support them, right? And then take a holistic decision and strategically that, hey, I think we have good base, we are going to take these many actions, and we are going to try that if we drive these actions, our my NPS is going to increase. And how this NPS increases is my retention rate is going to increase, or is my, like, I'm going to acquire a new customer, right? Like that. So I think like that will be correlated with that. Everything is correlated, but you really need to deep dive, go deeper inside it. It's not like superficially it won't work.
Okay, NK, let's move to the next slide.
All right, let's see here.
So this is something very interesting. I got to know from one of the CX heads of a contact center that we have to vary of channel switching when we are using customer effort score or measuring customer effort. For example, like they were, what do you mean by channel switching? Like when people are trying to get their issue resolved, the first thing that they are doing is maybe looking at the help article. They did not see the resolution there. Then they tried chat. They did not get a resolution there, and then they started calling you. So there were 3 channels they switched before they actually contacted you. So this is also an effort that you have to fix, right? So let's suppose they call you over the phone, you fix the issues instantly, your wait time is very low, and they were really happy about it, and they gave you a score, customer effort score of really good, like 5, very easy to get the issue resolved. And every improvement that you have done, now your customer effort score are always better. Now the next step for you is to understand how many channels actually people switch from help articles to email to chat to phone when they come to a phone. So look at different channels as well when you are reducing customer effort, not just one channel. So this can be done easily as well. For example, if you are talking about a contact center, you're asking CES, you can just ask a simple question on the phone call. The agent can ask, was this your first channel that you contacted us, or did you try any other channels before calling us? If you just get that data, that how many people are switching channels, you'll be actually easily able to get what they tried, where you need to improve, maybe the help articles or the chatbot or the phone. So this is something that we wanted to share. Be wary of channel switching when you want to reduce effort.
Yep.
I think that's it from our side, NK.
No, there is more.
There's more.
There is a one slide that I want to share that towards the end actually. So it's kind of like just combining all three together just to see that CS, CSAT, and there are a lot of people ask question that, hey, when to use CS, when to CSAT, and what type of questions we should ask around this. So I think this particular slide we will be sharing also. So you could look at that. CS is basically help you to measure effort. CSAT, the gap, and NPS is the loyalty, right? And in the CS examples that we have already discussed is like claim submission, agent interaction, service test, check-in, check-out. And you can ask this question on the Likert scale, 1 to 5, 1 to 7, and also emoticons can be used, right? So now these, just like you can also use emoticons as required. And one thing very important, I think like this is really, really important thing when you're asking CS and CSAT together in a single survey. What is the biggest mistake that I have seen happening is that, so if you look at CSAT, mostly people ask that, how satisfied are you with the product or services? Or how would you rate your support or services from strongly disagree to strongly agree, or like, not satisfied to highly satisfied. So your scales from left to right is actually goes positive, like 1 to 5. So 5 is the higher and 1 is the least. But when you take a look on the CES customer effort, we ask the question differently. So you have to make sure that your scores, 1, if the score is given 1, it means that like the least score, the least effort. So that is the highest one. If it is like 5, is the higher effort. So when you're doing a correlation, make sure that like your score is specifically calculated in that way. And you can calculate these scores. Like there is a formula written in at the bottom of the slide, is that customer effort score is equal to sum of your customer effort ratings, then divided by total number of survey response. That will give you the customer effort score. And you can represent this into the actual score or an average. And satisfaction can be like top box, top 2 box, or an average. You can look at that. And NPS, I think like everybody knows this, but like it's a percent of promoters minus percent of detractors. And key thing, remember this, for these 3 metrics, CES, lower the effort, higher the loyalty. CSAT, higher the satisfaction, higher the loyalty, of course, right? And if you look at higher the NPS, higher the customer loyalty. So basically, if you want to work out on the customer loyalty, build a brand where like customers don't leave you forever. Like we don't have to only work on the NPS, we have to work on the CES, CSAT, and NPS all together. So if you ask me that, hey, NK, can I just use any one of them? My answer is no, because all 3 has a distinct usage of it that plays a very pivotal role in the customer journey. And like I would just fast go back to my slide that where I talked about 3 E's, relate this with that, is these are like, key pillars of your customer experience program. So easy, effective, and emotional. So you have to deploy all 3 of them at different touch points. All right.
Absolutely.
And I think before we go, I just want to like share this quote that I like very much, and I'll tell you why. If you make customer unhappy, in the in the physical world, like it's when you're talking to them directly, they might tell like around few people who can find them around, right? But now these days with the digital disruption, what happens, like if you make customer unhappy on the internet, they can tell 6,000 people or more, right? So the word of mouth thing is like so important
now. Yeah.
That you really need to take care of that, like providing a great customer experience, so that in like a positive word of mouth gives you like a more revenue or more customers, more brand loyalty. But whether like a bad word of mouth would have been like, a disaster as well. So
yeah. So before we end, we'll just like to ask a poll, because there were a lot of questions. If we have not answered any, I'll launch a poll. If you would need a free consultation on all the questions or answers that you have, you can just say a yes or no. Don't worry, it will never be a sales pitch or sales call. It will be just about, if you have any questions, we would like to answer that as well. I will don't, like, what I have felt, NK, sorry, I was not about to pronounce it well, that people feel that when we are doing these calls or when we are asking for a demo or something, that for us it's about selling, but it's actually not. We are doing free webinars just for that, so that you can learn.
oh yeah,
Because when you when the customer is actually ready to buy or facing the problem, they'll come on your own. So if you have any questions, anything that we have left off, just say yes or no, and we'll try to answer those on a personal call as well.
Yeah, so
How do you,
basically,
go ahead.
the reason is that the efforts that we are making to bring this is not basically we just want to do branding, but try to give it back to community.
Yep.
Like, where to address small stuff. I know that there is a lot of materials already available in the internet, and people can search and do it. But it's a small effort from our end, just to let them know what we have seen practically happening, and then what it works. And more than happy to discuss with you personally if you want to create your entire CX framework, or have a specific question about culture,
Yep.
or have a specific things that you want to work out. And specifically that if you want to drive something to your upwards, like if you want to get some buy-in from the top and you are not able to find a way to get through it, so feel free to reach out to us, and we are more than happy to just to have like talk as a friends. And we are definitely be there to help out to you. Yeah, that's the only agenda. It's not a sales pitch.
Yeah. So thanks all. I'm just ending the poll for now. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope you found the information useful. It was lovely to have you, and I think this is the webinar where we have received the most questions, NK. So it was lovely. Everyone made it interactive. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in, and you guys have a good day and a great holiday. We'll be back again with a webinar in January, most probably. And
appreciate. Thank you so much, and terima
thank you
kasih
so much
for my all Indonesian friends. And like thank you so much for blessing us. So
yeah,
thank you so much.
have a good holiday season. And there will be a survey that comes in shortly, guys. If you want to hear specific about something on a new webinar, just mention your question or just an idea there in the survey that you get after this call finishes, so that we can take up those topics which are the most common in the next webinar.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you
Thanks
so
a
much.
lot. Thanks,
Thank you.
Risana. Thanks, Natasha, for staying.
Really
Nala,
appreciate it.
Reena, Marlena, Rania. So there are so many people. Thanks a lot, everyone. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.